All right, let's get into it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really aggressive, pretty unique new kind of online media called 9chnet Action News. It's this whole world of, well, memes, digital stampedes, and some very loud demands for the truth, all of it powered by a swarm of anonymous users. Okay, let's dive in. Truth is our weapon. Anonymity is our shield. Think about that for a second. This is the first thing you need to understand about 9chet. They're not trying to be neutral journalists. No, they see themselves as warriors in an information war. The truth is their sword, and their anonymity is what makes them unstoppable. This mindset is, well, it's everything. So what exactly is 9chnet? At its heart, it says it's a media group that's completely driven and powered by its anonymous users. This isn't your typical news company with a boss at the top. It presents itself as a completely bottom-up movement, a collective voice shouting from the digital void. And you've got to pay attention to the words they use. 9chnet says it memes the truth into the open. They're not talking about writing articles. They're talking about weaponizing viral content to push a story, to force a conversation. And apparently, this whole operation is steered by a figure they only call the Baron. Okay, so the specific 9chnet document we're deconstructing here, their Sum of All Fears edition, it really zooms in on one single, very polarizing figure. They see him as this huge contradiction, a living paradox right at the center of their whole campaign. And that person, it's Donald J. Trump. So that brings us here to what they call the Trump enigma. This is the central conflict that 9chnet wants to talk about. It's this stark contrast between what they see as a maverick's impressive record and a deafening silence on one very specific, very critical issue. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. This is the contradiction they keep coming back to. On one side, you have Trump as the people's maverick, the guy who they say fought the system for his supporters. But on the other side, they point to what they've dubbed the Epstein silence, his refusal to talk about the one case that's at the absolute core of their Operation Kraken. And to be perfectly clear, it's 9chnet itself that lists these wins. They give him credit for the economy, for peace deals, for not starting new wars, building the wall, and the Supreme Court picks. They basically build him up as this ultimate outsider who was kicking down the doors of the establishment, all before they drop their big butt. And this quote right here from their X account just distills their entire argument down to a single punchy question. If he's the guy draining the swamp, why won't he touch this one giant gator? That why, and that hashtag release the files, that's their digital battle cry. Which brings us to the mission itself. They call it Operation Kraken, and the source material describes it as an Anon-led stampede to crack open the Epstein files. The name alone tells you everything you need to know. It's meant to be this massive, overwhelming force rising up from the deep. Now, to back up their stampede, 9chet points right to this number. They bring up a Reuters/Ipsos poll that suggests 69% of Americans believe there's a cover-up around Epstein's death. This is so important for them. It lets them say, see, we're not some fringe group. We're just saying what most of you are already thinking. And this is where the plot thickens. The movement turns its focus onto a key official, FBI Director Kash Patel. Since he's a Trump appointee, he becomes a lightning rod for all their demands. His response to all this pressure was, well, incredibly short, and to 9chet, incredibly meaningful. Just 2 words: show them all. Now, on the surface, that sounds like exactly what they're asking for, right? But 9chnet looks at this with a whole lot of suspicion. Is he really calling for transparency, or is it a bluff? Because he knows the files are never going to see the light of day. It's that ambiguity they just latch onto. So how do they actually turn up the heat? Well, this section, memes as weapons, really gets to the core of their entire strategy. The source material actually says they shitpost justice. This is where creators like Shadowvision and all the other Anons come into play. They're not just sharing funny pictures. They are manufacturing digital ammo for a full-blown info war. This meme is a perfect example. It shows Trump and Bill Clinton side by side. The message is intentionally nonpartisan. For 9chnet, this isn't about Republican versus Democrat. It's about what they see as an elite class that needs to be held accountable, period. And here's another one from the creator at Shadow Vision, aimed squarely at Kash Patel. It's pure satire. It visually tears down his official statement that there ain't no list by showing this ridiculously over-the-top, triple-bolted safe. It's simple, it's funny, and it perfectly captures their distrust. Now, the 9chnet document also links all this activity to the QAnon movement. It explains how, in that world, Trump is often seen as this larger-than-life hero figure called Q+. What's so interesting is that 9chnet seems to both lean into that idea and, at the exact same time, use their own memes to question if he's actually living up to that hero status. So, this all builds and builds until we get to the final section, the call to action. This is where the Baron lays out a very clear 3-step plan for the entire anonymous collective. And here's the playbook. Step 1, unleash the Kraken. Basically, flood every social media platform you can find. Step 2, meme the truth. Create that viral content that hits everyone, no matter their party. And Step 3, hold them accountable. Take what they call Trump's outsider playbook and use it as a weapon against the entire political class. It's a game plan for a digital uprising. So when you step back and look at the whole thing, what are we really seeing here? It's a media movement that acts like a digital army, right? Anonymity is the shield, memes are the swords. It completely blurs the line between news, activism, and information warfare. And it leaves us with a pretty big question. As these anonymous, crowd-powered movements get bigger and more sophisticated, are we looking at the future of news, or are we just watching a brand new kind of digital war unfold?